know me. For those that don't, I'm still Rob Taylor. Owner-operator of a wheeled excavator. Management are constantly looking for new, different, varied ways to try and get the message to us at the front line. It's us, you and me, that are going to get hurt. Not Bruce, not Tom. It's us out there at the sharp end, all right? And that's why the behavioural safety issue has been raised, to try and get us to think how we work and how our colleagues work, all right? Ultimately, they want us to go home at the end of the day. One of the ideas from upstairs, further up, above Bruce and higher, was that maybe rather than having a collar and tie stood here, it was his words, not mine, it would be better to have somebody who has been there when it all went pear-shaped, without good results, because I think some of us, probably a lot of us, assume that the collar and ties haven't got the frontline experience, although many of them did start out there in the wet with a shovel in the mud and have worked their way up and well deserve the positions they now hold. With that in mind is why most of us hopefully have done the behavioural safety initiative, to look at how we and our colleagues work, and that is what it's all about. I treat statistics with a pinch of salt. You can manipulate statistics to make them get over what you're trying to put through, but the slide I'll show you shortly hopefully will mean something. During the latter end of 2007, all of 2008 and the beginning of 2009, prior to coming to this job, I worked on the M25 A282 widening at Dartford in Kent, just the other side of the River Thames. On the 8th of April 2008, I witnessed a fellow colleague get killed by a reversing 8-wheel tipper, loaded. Not very nice. Richard Craddock, Richie to many of us out on site, and to his close friend's Mad Dog, he had that on his helmet, fair play to him, was inducted the same day as me. I sat at the same table as Richie, along with some other people that were in the meeting yesterday. He wasn't a drinking partner, he wasn't a close mate, but he was a work colleague. And the thing I'm trying to get through to you is, it could be the person sat beside you that doesn't go home if we don't shape up and concentrate. The question being raised is complacency. And this slide shows you the situation of this job, as Bruce has just highlighted, and the situation at Dartford on the day that Richie died. At Dartford we've done 4 million man-hours. We've done 5 million man-hours here. We had 9 riders, reportable incidents at Dartford. We've had 4 so far here. We had 3 dangerous occurrences. We've had 2 already here. And this is the important thing. In the previous month there have been 2 bad scored inspections at Dartford, and in January and February we had 2 bad scored inspections here. There were 4 serious incidents in Dartford in the 4 months prior to Richie's death. An excavator overturned, a bucket fell onto a drainage operator, and those in the plant industry, those operators know we had some major issues with disengagement of attachments, and people getting killed with buckets coming off, breakers coming off. There's been a lot of work done to solve that problem. I don't think we've got to the bottom of it, because until people understand it's the operator in the cab and not the quick hitch that is the problem, we will always have a problem. Another guy received a broken leg from a reversing vehicle, which again will come up in a minute, and also the fatality, which was Richie's death. On this site, the 4 serious incidents in the previous 4 months, a finger got caught. I don't know the details of that. Whether the guy was picking his nose, lifting a manhole lid, I don't know. A trailer ran away. It wasn't a little plant trailer behind the transit. My understanding, it was one of the trombone trailers bringing in a gantry. It wasn't locked properly. The driver pulled away. It parted for whatever reasons. Luckily, it did not end up in the live traffic. It could so easily have been very, very different. Gantry struck an MEWP. You've seen the pictures of that. You know it happened. You've seen the pictures. And also the mini digger overturned. Again, you've seen the pictures. The serious fear is complacency, possibly, familiarity, breeds contempt. Are we now in the same situation that we were at Dartford? Think about it, because it could be the person next to you that doesn't go home if we don't shape up. Following Richie's death, there obviously was an inquiry, an HSE inquiry and a prosecution. The result of the prosecution was that Costain were fined £250,000. But, as Judge stated, apart from a few other things, these, and I think these are very interesting. The judge stated and understood that there was a safe system of work in place, and due credit. He also noted that the work was originally to be carried out at night. Management decided to do the works on days. That is their prerogative. There's no problem with that, there's no argument with that. But the thing that the judge did not like and highlighted was the fact that the same system of work that had been put in place for days was not changed. Although the risks had altered, we were working at night and we were going from vehicles coming in forwards to having to have reversing lorries. Those things were not altered on the RAMs. The risk and method statement was not updated. As a result, the SOS briefings were not updated. What we were doing was not rocket science, and most of the machine drivers in here will have done it. So we've got the same concrete channel as we've got on this job. All we were doing was putting stone on either side, bringing up the tarmac level. There's the next load coming in. 4 lads in the gang, roller, excavator. It's not rocket science, it's easy enough. We've been doing it for weeks. But we then changed and moved nearer to the tunnel, and for those of you who can see it, that is indeed 777 demolitions Hitachi EX 1200, which is why I actually took the photographs. I'm a bit of a sad bastard like that, I'm afraid. But while looking at the photographs of this presentation, I realised my machine is actually sat within 2 metres of where Richie lay. But that there is the concrete channel. And this is why the situation is important over why the working conditions have changed. QMB, quick move barrier both sides. We've got Vario guard here. But you see the line of that channel comes across. It's perceptive because you're going around the corner, but I assure you that channel comes across. There is no access on that side, no possible access on day shift. There's 3 lanes of running traffic, and there was no possibility to put an access in, and if you did, the lorries couldn't get in anyway. If the lorries came in off the anti-clockwise carriageway, they could indeed come in here, we could unload them or tip them or whatever, but they couldn't get out because of further bridge works up here, and because that channel came across and created a pinch point. So you could drive the lorries in, unload them and back them out, but the option was to drive the lorries in off the clockwise and back them down to us. My machine sat there for 10 days. That's how it was when I got out of it and started running. This was when we went back to work. This here, this panel in this side and this side will show most of you that this was a bridge underneath. And this area here had just been waterproofed. As a result, there was no pedestrian access that side. Pedestrians had to come onto this side. And that mark there is where Richie lay. Summary. RAMS, risk and method statement, should have been reviewed and revised and briefed to the workers. The SOS briefings should have highlighted the changes and the specific risks, namely reversing vehicles and the possible conflict between pedestrians and moving vehicles and plant. And more importantly, Richie was not added to our SOS. Richie didn't know there was moving trucks because nobody told him. Ask yourself, do workers enter your area without being added to your SOS? And I'm talking about concrete mixer drivers. You've just seen how some of them perform. Bowser drivers, Hiab drivers, and ultimately surveyors. Richie was a surveyor doing his job. Ask yourselves, have any of you ever made additions to an SOS following changes to your work during the shift? Bruce has touched on it, Tom has touched on it, and hopefully now you can start to understand why it is so important. Some of these guys, mixer drivers, Bowser driver, high-ab drivers, are up and down the site all day, in and out of different work areas. They get to see a lot more than a lot of us. But every area can have its different risks. You need to make sure that those guys coming into your work area are aware of those risks. That is the only thing I can say. Be proactive. Get involved. Don't sit back and think it doesn't matter to me. It's not my problem. If the guy sitting next to you gets killed, it will be your problem, because it will live with you for the rest of your life. Please, think about it. I believe Bruce is going to do questions, yeah? Yeah. I'll tell you.
Thanks for attending, everybody. Thank you very much.